Welcome back to the Spark Space Podcast, Season 2, Quest for the Lost Spark. Last episode, we uncovered the first clue, a lost name, a forgotten story. And now, we're going further into the archives, deeper into the past, searching for the missing pieces of a puzzle that only gets more mysterious as we go. Today's journey is a trail through the dusty, hidden corners of history, where forgotten figures and lost stories are waiting to be uncovered. Historians and archivists play the role of detectives, digging through the layers of time to piece together the narrative of the past. But the question remains, what happens when history itself starts to fade? When certain voices are erased from the record? Imagine walking into an archive. The walls are lined with rows upon rows of files, ancient manuscripts, and crumbling boxes. Each one holds stories, secrets, and moments in time. And then you find it. A piece of a record that's been overlooked for years. The document is tattered, but still legible. But there's something strange. The name you're searching for is missing. All that remains is a faint mark, like a name that once stood proud, now faded into obscurity. Sounds familiar, right? In the quiet of the archive, you realize this isn't an accident. It's a deliberate omission. Someone or something has scrubbed this figure from the record. Who was this person? What did they contribute? And why have their accomplishments been erased from history? The clue we've uncovered today is this. A piece of a record is found in an old archive, mentioning a figure whose contributions were pivotal, but now forgotten. There's a hint of a controversy surrounding their disappearance. Historians know this feeling all too well. Every day they comb through archives like this one, searching for lost figures, unraveling forgotten truths. And it's not just about finding facts. It's about understanding the why behind the loss. But why would anyone want to erase someone from the pages of history? Was it because their contributions challenged the status quo? Did they stand for something that made them uncomfortable? Or were they simply a casualty of time, overlooked and forgotten? Historians and archivists are often seen as gatekeepers of the past. They hold the key to understanding how the world came to be. But what happens when that key is hidden, buried, or simply lost? History isn't just facts. It's a living, breathing entity made up of voices, perspectives, and experiences. Historians aren't just scholars. They're like detectives. They search for clues, piece together evidence, and ask questions about the past. They take those forgotten records, those overlooked stories, and they breathe life into them. They give voice to the silenced. But historians don't work alone. Archivists play an equally vital role in preserving history. While historians analyze and interpret, archivists keep the records safe. They organize the material, preserve it, and ensure that future generations can continue to tell these stories. In many ways, archivists are the unsung heroes of history. They stand guard over the fragile records of our past, ensuring that the stories of those who came before us don't fade away completely. Consider the massive amount of history that would be lost if these records were destroyed, forgotten, or left to decay. Without archivists, the past would slip away into, oblivion. But even with the best efforts of historians and archivists, history is still sometimes manipulated. A person's legacy can be erased, or their story can be twisted to fit a narrative that serves the powerful. Now, let's take a closer look at why history is often rewritten or erased. There are countless examples where history has been manipulated to serve certain political, social, or economic interests. Take, for example, figures who challenged the status quo. Perhaps they were involved in social movements, advocating for equality, justice, or rights that were seen as radical at the time. Or maybe they stood up against institutions that were and still are powerful forces in society. As history is written by the victors, those who challenge the power structures often find their stories obscured or erased entirely. But the truth always finds a way to resurface. And that's where historians come in. It's their job to search for these hidden stories and bring them into the light. Look at the countless women and people of color whose contributions have been overshadowed by their male counterparts. Think about the activists whose movements sparked change, yet whose names are barely mentioned in history books. Sometimes it's not just individuals whose stories are erased. It's entire communities. Native tribes, for instance, have seen their histories nearly wiped out by colonization. The very records that once held their stories were destroyed, rewritten, or dismissed. But historians are slowly uncovering these hidden narratives, replanting the seeds of forgotten truths. And with every rediscovery, history is given the opportunity to heal. So, how do historians uncover these lost truths? It's not always easy. In fact, sometimes it takes years of research, travel, and dedication. But the key is questioning everything. Historians don't take the standard narrative at face value. They ask, what's missing? What's been left out? Who is this story really about? And why are they being silenced? They turn to primary sources, old letters, journals, photographs, newspapers, and even oral history. They don't just read what's written, they analyze it, piecing together the fragments until the story becomes clear. This process can sometimes uncover shocking truths. Figures who were thought to be heroes may turn out to have had darker sides. People who were overlooked may have been the true pioneers, the ones whose influence shaped the world more than we realize. And as they unearth these stories, historians give voice to the voiceless, honoring their contributions and making sure they're never forgotten again. If you're listening and you're intrigued by the work of historians or archivists, how can you get involved? How can you begin your own journey into the past? Well, start by diving into the history around you. Whether it's through books, documentaries, or visiting historical sites, immerse yourself in the stories of those who lived before you. Ask questions about the history of your own community. Who's been forgotten? Whose story needs to be told? If you're ready for more, you can also consider studying history or archival science. These fields will teach you the methods and tools you need to conduct your own research. You'll learn how to analyze primary sources, how to evaluate evidence, and how to tell stories that others miss. And perhaps most importantly, always remember that history is not just about the past. It's also about now. Understanding history helps us understand the present and shape the future. This mystery of the missing figure and missing spark isn't over. Who was this person? What were their contributions? And why did they vanish? And we know from episode 1 that their name starts with the letter B. As we continue this journey through history, we'll uncover more secrets, more stories, and more answers. So stay tuned. For every Wednesday and next Wednesday, the quest for the lost spark continues. And with each step we take, we get closer to revealing the truth that's hidden in the past.